Welcome to the Cherland podcast, where I, Connor Cherland, meet up with a musician, hear about what makes them tick, what kind of experiences they're bringing into their musical journey. And on today's podcast, we have Danny McGaw, a singer-songwriter, producer, and sound engineer based in Ojai, California, currently touring with legendary Vocal Hall of Fame inductees Three Dog Night. He's also been touring with them for 3 years before COVID, so they're actually a very close crew. Danny is a local hero of the Central Coast, and if you've heard any of his music or heard him speak at all, you'll realize that he's got plenty of wisdom and heart to share. I think there's so many good pieces of wisdom, good nuggets inside this conversation, so please enjoy Danny McGaw. Danny McGaw, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. It has been such a gift to hear so many of your timeless melodies, your wonderful voice, your incredible songwriting. I figured I would start off with talking about I Remember It Well, which is a song that you're playing on it's a song that you were opening with on your Three Dog Night tour for a little bit, and talking about I think you had a conversation with your mom about like looking back in like a photograph and like still feeling like that child in that photograph. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about your childhood as a football player, soccer player, what it was like for you being an athlete as a child, and what that life looked like for you.
It was busy, that was just what it was, from the beginning. 4 or 5 years old, I was in the right place, in the right kind of city, surrounded by the right kind of people, and they helped me just progress really quickly into professional, being on the books at 9 years old and stuff like that with professional clubs. So then you're in with the best coaches and playing with the best players, and then it was a beautiful life. It was a great childhood, really.
What was that discipline like? Like how often were you practicing, and like how is that sort of translated into your professional life as a musician?
Well, yeah, I'm a pretty quite a working class musician. I come from a very working class place, and yeah, to be a high level athlete, you got to work very hard and have a lot of discipline. My dad's got a lot of discipline, and my brother and my mom. I come from a place that works hard every day.
Yeah.
And when I decided that, when I was done with football, and my first job after football was in a chemical factory, and it was a real shock to the system. So I started immediately trying to figure out other ways to exist in the world now that I couldn't be a footballer,
Yeah.
So when music became that, also came with it a commitment that was my job.
Right.
For self-respect more than anything. So I made songwriting kind of a daily habit. And in the beginning, I was singing on the street. So I'd put the time in on the street like it was my job.
Yeah.
And through that, I think that early discipline of that was what really accelerated my growth as a musician.
When you were out on the street, were you playing all originals, or like what was that like time-wise? Practically, what would I have seen if I was to shadow you each day?
I actually made a day in the life documentary once, actually.
Oh, really?
A USC student came by one day and says, "Can I make a day in the life of you?" And what's funny about that was during that documentary, I met Terry Melcher, who was the producer of The Byrds, Taj Mahal, Beach Boys. He was Doris Day's son.
Wow.
I was singing on the street, and the USC students filming me meeting Terry Melcher, who I made my first record with because of that meeting. But at the time I was singing mostly covers. I probably had about 15 songs to my name. Mm-hmm. I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
But I had a load of covers because I've been singing in bars in Europe. A lot of Oasis and Radiohead, stuff I grew up with,
Yeah, yeah. I love that. What would be their typical response? Like, were there people gathering around you, or was it just a thing where like you would just continue to play regardless of if nobody was around?
Oh yeah. The street, there's only one way to win in the street, and that is to learn how to be ignored.
Yeah.
Because if you let it, you close your heart and your spirit.
Yeah.
Because nobody cares. This is useless.
Yeah.
But you're not there to please everybody. You're there to find a few people to connect with.
Yeah.
If you can be resilient enough, I definitely learned to be resilient in the street, because you need to be open when that one person shows up. Because what happens when one person stops and connects with you is another person will. And then another, and then it becomes okay to stand around the guy in the street. And you got to stay in the game, so to speak, emotionally, to be able to receive the blessing when it comes. that was definitely the experience of the street. It's but when you do magnetize, it's an amazing experience because it's so random.
Yeah.
And I still have communication with people who knew me from singing on the street.
How do you keep your heart open for long periods of time when no one's listening?
Do it for growth. That was, if there's one thing that football taught me as well, was you train to get better. And I still do this every day. I'm not trying to build a career for any other reason than to just say that I got better. I was good at something. I am good at something, you know. These days it's mixing and producing and recording. It used to be songwriting, and I still get better as a songwriter, but my focus has broadened into how just to get better, like my own music and like my own recordings and like my own mixes, and be able to make beautiful recordings for other people and things like that. It's always been related to growth. When I was singing in the bars in the Midwest, you know, I was singing like 4-hour sets, 4 or 5 nights a week. My friends would be like, "You don't get bored of that?" And I was always like, I treat it like a meditation, and I'll sing and I'll just get better and I'll focus on clarity and being relaxed in front of people. And the growth is, you could do anything forever as long as you're getting better, I think, including being ignored.
When you're treating it as a meditation, sometimes when I'm treating it as a meditation, I'm focused so much on myself and my breath and focused on like relaxing my larynx and like all that kind of stuff. What are you talking about when you're talking about it as a meditation?
Like the subconscious expression.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens in the street or a bar that's ignoring you, is you end up singing, vibrating your body, trying to stay positive for hours.
Yeah.
You know, you could either be watching the TV or staring at people hoping that they're going to become an audience for you, or you can just find a zone that is not in the room or in the street. There's a zone within you that is the reason why we all do it, I think.
Wow. And so you're saying that your meditation is bringing that vibration from deep inside of you and pushing that out into the world rather than letting the world push in on you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's for sure what it is. And that, going onto the big stage with the anxiety of the big stage, for me, this alone in front of thousands of people, the only way to win that is to be relaxed.
Yeah.
The inclination it's like the street again. The inclination in the street is to sing really loudly. The truth is, the more comfortable you are, the softer you are, the more you will draw the feeling that you desire, which is connection. And that has gone all the way into the Ryman Auditorium. You don't get there and start screaming. You've got to take the anxiety and just let it be okay that you're standing there somewhere where you're basically uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But you've got to find a way of making it okay, which is through that. Why do I do this in the first place?
Right.
What am I trying to share? Like, is it a song? For me, it's not really a song for me. It's a feeling. Expression. That's how I keep the love of it through the stress or the disappointment or the whatever a career is. To not forget that I just love doing it, and I love the way it feels, and I love where it comes from.
Were you always this zen, or were you anxious when you were younger? Like, how did you get to this place? Seems like a wonderful place to be in, and I would love to be there myself. So were you always there, or did you arrive there somehow?
Well, I always meditated in a place where I didn't meet anybody who ever meditated, to my knowledge, until I was in Los Angeles. So I was like 20. But when I learned how to meditate, I realized that I'd actually been meditating all my life on my own volition, you know, which is that just a natural, like when you look at a wall and you focus on the space between your eyes and the wall, and your vision becomes blurred. You know, I've been doing that and dreaming into beautiful places since I was very young, all the way to where you feel it. Like it's, you know, you can make yourself happy, or you can make yourself soar, you know, into the dreams of the future. And then I got to LA, and I made some friends that actually showed me some, like, the breath and yoga, and And I was very interested in that stuff. I actually made a devotional record once when I was maybe 23, like an open-ended spirituality kind of thing. But these days I'm more of a California Manchester hybrid, you know. But I definitely take all those meditation's beautiful, you know. Like I say, it was always part of my life, even if I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah. Interesting. You've moved around so much in your life that one of my questions, and like you pick a job that is the most movement, right? You're constantly moving all over the place. How do you find a sense of belonging or a sense of rootedness in the place that you are when you're moving around so much? Have you found ways that help yourself feel like you belong in a space?
My children and my wife, they are solid,
Yeah.
and they're definitely the anchor of my life these days. But you're right. Before my family, that's probably why really developed my relationship with spirituality
Mm-hmm.
when I was a young man. Because you're right, I was in a country alone, making friends, good friends. If my kids ever move to another country or state or whatever, that would be the advice I can give them. I'd focus on building relationships
Yeah.
because friends are beautiful. And I got my family in Manchester, but I've got an Ojai family, I've got a Kansas City family, got an LA family, like
Yeah.
friends that would be there for me and have been there for me, and I've been there for them, for years. So I think that's between family and friends and creating your own communities wherever you are. I find it a lot easier than my wife when we move because I sing, so I always have to have people who I'm working with, like whether it's a band or in a studio, I'm always seeking relationships to find that feeling that's beautiful. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting in your song, Let's Go Get Ice Cream, you can tell that you're a guy who has real friends because the idea that you have friends that would do your laundry or bring you soup, that's like the laundry phrase is what really gets me, where I'm like, yeah, a friend who would do your laundry is like an actual good friend because no one wants to touch your dirty underwear, but a real friend is happy to do that for you. There was a video I was watching of you, and you were introing Let's Go Get Ice Cream, and you said it was the third song before noon, meaning that you had written 3 songs before noon that day. I would love to hear about your songwriting practice, any advice you have about writing songs quickly, and anything like that you would have for someone young in their career.
Let the song happen. For me, I'm a very subconscious, stream of conscious writer.
Yeah.
And I have learned to be cleverer and more, mostly when I co-write, because you can't just sit there and write the whole song in front of somebody. You have to plan and map and talk about it and things like that, which slows me down. So I have learned the other way to write songs, but the only reason that I have anything to share really song-wise is the songs that come through, and I'm basically the only job I have is to don't get in its way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it comes from somewhere else. There's a window where I need to sit down and just get it down. And I'm not saying it'll be finished, although Ice Cream was finished and the other 2 songs that morning were finished, just to make sure that the idea as it is trying to come out of you is allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can consider it later. But consideration during inspiration has really slowed me down in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I might write 100 songs a year, and a lot of those I'm trying to write songs, but the 15 or 20 that come out just because I was trying to write songs and I was available for the
Yeah.
inspiration. The songs that take like 7 minutes to write, like Ice Cream it took as long to write that song as it does to sing it. And that's my special songs, whether they're good or bad, just the way they connect with people. They're usually songs that I figure out what they mean after I've written them. It's really important for me to not think. The second I try to be clever or considered, then it's kind of over for me. And the other thing is, usually the lines that people go, "Oh, I love that line," is the line that I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to change that. Or every time that line comes by, it makes me feel something I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And so often those lines are the ones that people come to me and says, "That line's great."
Right.
I'm like, You mean I've got to leave it in now?
Yeah.
You know, but
I love that phrase, consideration while exploration. Like when there's consideration during exploration, that's when you're screwed, basically. What do you do when you realize you're stuck in that mode? Do you like take a break, go for a walk? What do you do?
uh, yeah, I record it where it is on my phone and know that I've got half an idea. Or sometimes I'll not notice that it's happened
Mm-hmm.
and then catch myself realize that I've been trying for 2 hours and
Yeah.
that's not how it's done. Stop
Yeah.
trying. You know,
Yeah.
it's a hard thing not to try, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
but that's why I love the studio because I'm either writing, mixing, recording, producing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always, like my piano's right there and all my guitars are here. So I'll often write songs while I'm mixing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to take a break from mixing.
Wow.
And I do it less these days, to be honest, writing because I'm so busy in the studio now.
Right.
Like I've already written my next record, but I used to write, like I said, like a job. And these days that the true grind is becoming a great engineer now.
In times of like writer's block or times of I don't necessarily resonate with the phrase writer's block, but there are certain times where it feels like you just have less to say. You know, like not much is going on in your life. You don't feel really stirred emotionally about a lot. What do you do during those times or do you have times like that, or what do you do during those times to find things to write about?
Well, I actually just had one. I just wrote 4 or 5 songs last week, and they were probably the first songs that I've written that I've liked in maybe 2 or 3 months,
Wow.
which is rare for me.
Yeah.
I had an old buddy. He's in Wales now, but he's called Mike West. He's in part of a band called Truck Stop Honeymoon, which are amazing. And he's probably one of the greatest songwriters I've ever called a friend. He's older than me, and I remember 15 years ago he said this to me. He says, "I've grown out of the need to know that I can still write a song."
Wow.
And I can relate to that. I'm getting there now. I used to have to write a song for my day to mean anything, like, you know,
Yeah.
for my self-worth, for my, you know, because I dropped out of the workforce and decided to write songs.
Yeah.
So you better write songs.
Yeah.
When Mike was making my records back in the day, I was still very much there, like constantly writing songs. He's released a record a year for probably 20 years straight, but you'd never see him writing. He'd always be gardening or building things or making other people's records. And then, boom, 15 songs when it's time for them.
Yeah.
Had a nice an ease to know that they will come back.
Yeah.
The craft is worth pursuing, the science of it, the collaboration of it, but the inspiration of it just needs to be trusted that it will arrive, and you've got to be willing to stop everything and go grab it or allow it.
Yeah.
That's my experience.
There seems like there's so much peace inside of you. It is. That's like the vibe that I'm getting from especially that guy you're talking about. Like there seems to just be like real maturity and peace of like if you want to conquer big stages, you relax into it. If you want to write well, you relax into it. The answer is continuing to be like I relax into it. It's very impressive. Do you feel like you found any of that through your parents or a mentor, or was that something that you entirely figured out on your own and just by watching other people in the music?
I think I figured it out being alone in the world, to be honest.
Yeah.
Another thing I will ask my children not to do is don't do what I did, you know, which was I was a little too young to be so alone in the world. But in that fire created, this is where I got the tools to build my life. I wouldn't recommend it for my kids.
Sure.
But the relaxing thing is, that was learned through trial and error. You know, like I said, the streets, the bars, the clubs, the theatres, the stadiums. I've been guilty of shouting on them all.
Yeah.
But I also have maybe the experience or the desire. I'm seeking a relationship when I'm singing. I don't want to sing alone.
Mm.
And I don't really want to go, look at my song, it's great.
Yeah.
I'm not there to do that. I'm there to be like, can we be friends for 20 minutes? Can we, can you give me energy and I'll give you energy?
Mm.
Can we trade? Can we help each other? Yeah, I think that's probably where it's all come from, is trial and error. And like being a father, you can't force your kids to listen to you. It's, you're going to have to find a gentler way to make them take the trash out.
Yeah.
It's, uh, it's all kind of the same thing. You're right. It does come back to the same thing, which is you kind of got to chill out. You got to do your work. There's nothing
Yeah.
chill about grinding
Yeah.
and getting your skills together and, making sure that you do grow every day. But then you've got to trust who you're becoming and who you are and what you're going to draw and what you're going to draw from the universe in terms of inspiration. Like you become the thing that you desire, but you still need a little luck and you still need inspiration and you gotta be, that's the hardest part of life, I think, is you become it, but you're not necessarily going to get given it.
Yeah.
That's what faith is. So
Yeah. Wow. How do you get people to give you energy on stage when, because every audience, I mean, you're opening for Three Dog Night all the time. So a lot of that audience, you're the opener. They're all starting off very cold the majority of the time. What are some of the tricks that you've learned to warm people up and to get them on your side as quickly as possible in a short amount of time?
smile, wave,
Yeah,
pretend like you've seen them 1,000 times.
I love that.
Yeah. And talk to them. Again, it's not about the songs.
Mm-hmm.
You need good songs in that environment for sure, especially alone with the guitar. But the true connection is in the speaking and what you say and how comfortable you are. Again, and you have a very short window in that environment, probably
Yeah.
about 20 seconds to establish what it's going to feel like. So how you enter the stage, how you address the stage, you got to win them then. And again, it's in your wave, your smile, your stride, your gaze, the first words you say, how you plug your guitar in, and they trust you.
Hmm.
You're earning their trust with everything that you do in that, especially that environment, because it's so magnified. You have a very short window to earn their trust, and then they'll listen to your first song, and then hopefully they'll like the first song, and then you have an opportunity to go a little deeper into that relationship. Three Dog Night have definitely taught me how to gain trust and keep it, with a good solid set, with a good solid map of dialogue, mannerism. They're very tight in everything they do,
Mm-hmm.
as well as how they travel, how they sleep, everything. But their stage performance is so tight. And it's because it's reliable. Your set
Mm-hmm.
becomes like your friend.
Yeah.
You trust the set, the crowd trusts you, they learn to trust your songs, trust your stories. And then next thing you know, it's like they're your audience for 20 minutes,
Yeah.
because you've got them. They've come on board. They trust you. And the nicest part is if I trust them, then they get all of me, because it doesn't always go perfectly. It's impossible not. So maybe that's what we're looking for. We're looking for trust. We're looking for the audience to trust the artist and the artist to trust the audience. And therefore everybody becomes all they could have been in that moment. And that's certainly what the audience is there for. They're there to see an artist be what all they can be. And it takes trust. I'm grateful to say I've experienced that trust a few times.
There's a lot of advice from everyone in the music industry about how to structure your set, especially as an opener. There's like, you walk out, you wave, you smile, you play, you like give a 10-second intro to your like exciting number one hit kind of a song, make people happy, win them over. This is like one of your best songs, and then you can kind of bring them down into like a calmer song, and then a calmer song, and then a big song, and then like a goodbye song kind of a thing. And like, how have you and no one has like a clear cut like this is the way that it's done, and I don't think that should exist, but like how have you navigated the energy levels of your songs? How do you typically structure that?
The Three Dog Night set is a good example. I'll introduce myself very quickly, 10 seconds, and then I'll sing my first song, which is a mid-tempo folk song, but the first line makes people laugh. And I want to live where it's Friday every couple of days. And it doesn't matter where you are in the country, people laugh. By the end of the song, and the last line of the first song is that line, and it's the first line too. So they've already laughed with me. And then the second song is my single, my latest single, Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say much about that. And then by that time, they've laughed and they know that I can really write a song. And then the third song is an upbeat Irish feeling thing. But on the breakdown and the outro, we do a hands up. And invariably, they all clap. So now you've got people who didn't know you, they've laughed, listened, and clapped. And then I stop to tell a story about I Remember It Well. Mm-hmm. Now they get to feel my conversational side. And I ask them, will they sing with me? And they do. Mm-hmm. So then we finish I Remember It Well with a sing-along.
Yeah.
Now they laughed, listened, clapped, and sang.
Wow.
Now we're friends.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done things that they didn't expect to do from the heart. Then I sing my most down-tempo song and tell a story about that again. And then I thank people and ask them to buy a T-shirt. And I sing Let's Go Get Ice Cream. And it works. So what my advice, if you were looking to build a set, again, that set is not built because of the songs. It's built because of the breadth mm-hmm. of, feel, tempo, key, but also what each one brings. Mm-hmm. They all bring a different thing. In your set, you got to find, this one will make them dance, this one will make them cry, this one will make them think, this one might make them laugh, and try and show as many sides of your creative personality as possible, because I know for one, I could play 6 songs, 7 songs before Three Dog Night that were all written, intended to create the same thing, maybe dance or maybe cry, or maybe there's only room for one of them.
Right.
That's, for me, that's what a good set is just, and here's another room, and here's another room, here's the bathroom.
Yeah.
Here's the bathroom. You're constantly just revealing a little bit more about the house that is you,
Yeah. That's so thoughtful and good. I'm also impressed by the way that you're asking them to participate. You're asking, like, laughter is a very low level of engagement. Like, people laugh involuntarily. Like, no one owes you a laugh. They're like, ha, and it just kind of happens. And then you ask them to clap. But clapping is a lot less intimate than singing. And then you ask them to sing. And then you ask them to listen to a downbeat song. And so it's that flow to me. It's their level of engagement continues to rise as the set goes on. And I love that because you'll have to continue to, you're continuing to ask more of them. And so they're having to lean in more. So there's just more and more buy-in. And before your last song, you ask for them to buy a T-shirt. And then that's like the most level of buy-in is like, all right, pay me money. It's like, I love, because they've ramped up, and the question is, okay, I'm going to give a little, like if I'm the audience, I give a little to you, and how does it pay off? Oh, it paid off well. Okay. And then I gave you a little more and it paid off well. And so it just continues to that place that eventually when it comes to the sale, it's like, yeah, why wouldn't I give this guy money? This guy's the best.
Yeah, and why wouldn't I want a souvenir for this experience?
Yeah.
And, don't get me wrong, the sale of the T-shirt is essential to justify my absence from my family when I'm on the road. Mm-hmm. But it is certainly not the goal. It's the game, that trust. Like, how quickly can we have the best time ever? I love that game because it really matters. You could be an opening act that just sang the songs. When I meet the people at the table, it's been good for everybody. It's been good for me. It's been good for them. There's a genuine sense of gratitude and surprise in the relationship that we just built in such a short time. And that is the most beautiful thing I know about. in
Yeah.
the whole thing, you know, other than making a beautiful recording, because that lives forever and you can send it to your mum.
Yeah.
But connecting, and they give you trust, and there's a lot of responsibility with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very grateful to say that I'm capable of honoring that trust, you know, and bringing it home, which is I'm very grateful for.
That's amazing. I like that you distinguished that the t-shirt is essential, but it is not the goal, because the importance is on connecting with the audience and making a genuine connection with the audience, not taking more money from the audience. It's always appreciated and gratifying, but that's not the reason why we're in all of this. Like you're genuinely trying to connect with others. Yeah. Before I totally derail us with a few ending questions, is there you've mentioned there's a ton of things that you've learned from Three Dog Night, and that they have a super tight set, the way they travel, the way they sleep, everything has a ton of intention. Has there been anything that you've learned from Three Dog Night that you think is like, oh, these are wonderful bits of knowledge that everyone should know?
Well, the first one's a bit cheeky because they're all up in the years.
Yeah.
They're all amazing,
Yeah.
like faster than me through the airport kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's a saying like, "Don't let the old man in."
Okay.
You know, that's I'll definitely take that one with me going forward. They are some of the most inspirational people I've ever met. You know,
Yeah.
but I would say the biggest thing that I've learned from Three Dog Night is how to build a set, and
Yeah.
how to build a set that is your friend, that you can rely on. Because when you're alone at the Ryman or alone at a Texas honky tonk, you're going to need that set, even if it just gets you out alive.
Right.
Because those go like that, alone with a guitar. It's at least it's you, your guitar, and your set,
Yeah.
and that's going to keep you safe. And it does. Yeah, Three Dog lessons. I'm probably spacing out on most of them right now.
Oh, you're good.
They've made me more of a professional than I ever. My last two records, I paid other people to make them. This one, I've been an engineer now for 20 years. I've had a studio for 20 years. I've probably made a dozen records for myself, most of which have never seen the light of the world. I've brought what I've learned for the last 5 years on the road, basically. There's a professionalism and an awareness that has been given to me by example through Three Dog. Like listening to how good they are at playing the guitar, playing the drums. Every player's top draw, and they're so consistent at it. You know, it's consistently shining a stone of their own expertise and their relationship and their impact with the crowd. It's constantly growing. Still, you know, they're just like me. They just want to be better than they were yesterday. So I think both my things tie in with Three Dog and with the age thing. They're still way up in age, and they've been doing it for 50 years.
Yeah.
And they're still trying to get better. They're still trying to connect. They're still trying to perfect their ability to connect, you know, and articulate what they're trying to do. And it's just, they give me hope.
There's so many different ways to age, as is what I've learned as I play a lot of pickleball, which has a lot of older people in it.
Yeah.
And you realize I'll see a lot of people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and you'll realize there's just so many different ways to age. And it's cool to see people who have aged in a way that you would also like to age, and be like, I want to be like you when I grow up. That's where I feel that feeling of hope, because sometimes people, I think cynical people, tell you like, oh, it's the best where you are. Like it's like your age, it's just downhill from here. Like everything's downhill. It's like, well, people have been saying that it's downhill for a long time, so that means that there's not that long of an uphill runway. It's like after you're 18, it's like you're toast. Okay, great. I have a couple last questions for you. Any books that you would recommend? Anything that you've been reading, enjoying, anything like that?
The last book I read was Graham Nash's autobiography. He's, Graham Nash from Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Oh, nice.
Young.
Okay.
I went to see him speak, bought his book, finally read it. He's from my hometown, which is Salford, the first city outside Manchester, the hometown of Manchester United Football Club. Salford he was from the same neighbourhood as my dad, which was built to support the factories at the turn of the last century, and then it was demolished because it was untenable. That kind of place. They replaced it with high-rise flats and then demolished them because they were untenable. The place is doing better now, but during my childhood and my dad's, it was pretty rough. Fascinating book about what I love about Graham Nash is he's a really sensitive man from a really hard place. He definitely is an inspiration to me for that.
Do you have any best or worst gig stories that come to mind that you want to share?
Yeah. The most intense moment on stage I ever had was in December. And we've been touring all year. And we were in Florida in December, and it was cold. And we're in Daytona Beach. No, not Daytona, Pensacola maybe. I played like 75 shows last year, opening for Three Dog. And basically every one of them was some form of beautiful. And this one, there were two guys in the back that decided that they didn't want to hear me. And, I can handle a heckler. We just talked about my whole life. Like, I can handle this.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't. I silenced the crowd. So they were as loud as I was. And they would not stop booing and chanting, "We want Three Dog Night."
Oh, my God. So
I got to the end of the first song and I was like, okay. So I sang the second song and then louder. So I think I said like, somebody's had one too many or something like that, and just to let them know. And then at the end of the third song, they're really loud now. And the rest of the crowd are getting annoyed with them. We go through the song and they clap as they always do. And it comes time for my grandmother's song. I remember it well. And they are just berating me. Two voices in a silent 2,000 seat theater, just destroying me trying to, and I, in my chest, I was shaking more than I've probably ever shaken in my life. I was very upset, but I did the only thing I could, which was just ask the audience if they were okay with it. I was like, what is this? What is going on here? How do you feel? And the audience resulted in turning on them.
Oh, wow.
Every one of them. To the point where they were escorted out by the police and the whole crowd sang together. You know that song, da 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 da, hey, goodbye.
Yeah.
2,000 people singing that song in defense of me.
Wow.
I started crying on stage.
Wow.
Only the people in the front might have known, but you could definitely tell it in my voice. And we finished the set. I finished the set, and me and the crowd, and they came coming off the stage. All of Three Dog Night were off on the side stage, which is never the case. This was, Danny Hutton said, I've never seen anything like that. But he said jokingly, by the way the crowd loved you out of it, you should guys to follow you around.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But at the merch table that night, there were tears, and it was an unbelievable experience. I won't lie, going on stage in Daytona the next night, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I have the stomach for that again. I definitely got trauma from that one.
Right.
But if anybody can handle it, I can. That's the thing about the journey that brought me here.
Yeah.
Has definitely prepared me to deal.
Yeah.
And that was a very unusual. I've been opening for Three Dog for 5 years.
Wow.
With a break for COVID, but that was a very unusual circumstance. But that one will definitely be with me forever.
I love that. It's so cool that many people wanted to take care of you in that moment. And it's really smart of you to leave it up to the audience to see whether or not that was something they wanted to take care of. I think it seems like you were also a very sensitive man from a hard place. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to follow your intuition in that way. What's something that you find lacking in the music industry as a whole that you would like to see more of? Whether it be like, I would like to see better planned sets, or I would like to see more sensitive men, or I would like to see more dance routines for boy bands, whatever it is you want to see more of.
I'm selfish. More people like Levon Helm.
More people like what?
Like Levon Helm. You know Levon Helm?
No.
He's, oh my God. He's the drummer for the band. The band were a band in the 70s. And Levon Helm, and what that basically means is I like roots music, whatever it is. The doesn't have to be folk music or like Celtic folk or bluegrass or whatever, or Americana, but I just like people telling stories, telling the truth.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable enough to tell their own truth so that people find their own truth in it. I think I've quite liked the modern pop industry, like Billie Eilish and her brother. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That's the best music I've ever heard in my life. You know, it's not like, I love the 70s, I love the 60s, but there's some fantastic songwriters around today too. Like I love good songs, I guess I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Good songs from, it doesn't have to be like, I was watching an interview with Phineas actually, and he was saying, they're deeply emotional, but they're not necessarily deeply personal. Like sometimes he writes, and I do this sometimes too, is you write a song to the plot of a movie. Really frees you up.
Right.
Yeah, just people exploring the thing that art is, which is intangible, spiritual, human expression combined, like what is it? It's just a little bit of knowing, and it's mostly not knowing. It's just like and somehow it connects on unspoken levels that even the creator didn't even know. That's beautiful stuff.
I agree. Sorry, I told you that was our last question, but I forgot that I have one more question for you, which is you have a lot of like timeless melodies in your wheelhouse. You do a lot of very good, like it feels like pub songs, the type of things that everybody wants to sing along to, and it's the kind of thing that's really memorable. Like I could sing, I remember it well after hearing it one time. Who do you listen to? Who do you think has those types of melodies that I should be listening to?
Noel Gallagher, early Oasis.
Yeah.
Some of the most singable melodies ever.
Yeah.
For my taste. And Garth Brooks.
Wow.
I learned both of those songbooks when I was a kid.
Okay.
I would say that their melodies and their structure of songwriting is probably my biggest influences early. Perfect. Because my mum and dad loved Garth Brooks and I loved Oasis when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So that was between 11 and 16 in my bedroom when I wasn't playing football. I was learning Garth Brooks songs, Oasis songs, or Guns N' Roses, another one.
Yeah.
Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
These are all big songwriters.
Okay.
Memorable stadiums singing along. So I was kind of lucky, really, just by happenstance, the influences that were in my life at the time of my life, and I was always drawn to it. I love beautiful melodies, and I also grew up on the terraces of Old Trafford, Manchester United's football ground, and the big part of that ritual is singing with people, thousands of people.
Yeah,
and that's a beautiful experience, and I definitely I love that. I get to do that and be the facilitator of that as an artist. Yeah. Trying to share that thing that I love, which is singing with people, is beautiful.
I love that. Well, sweet. Those are my last questions for you. Do you have anything else that you want to share? Anything else you want to promote?
I got a record here coming out, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to try and get it out within the next month, because then I'm going to be touring the country with Three Dog Night and looking to do the thing that makes everybody feel good, which is connect and share songs. And so, look out for the new record coming soon. And if I'm in a town near you, come and see us play.
Sounds great. Awesome. Sweet. Danny McGaw, thank you so much. I'll clap us out. Thank you kindly for listening to the podcast. It's really just an excuse for me to meet amazing people and learn from them. So if you like this episode, feel free to take a look at some of the other artists I've talked to, or let me know if there's someone in your life who's a musician that you'd like me to talk to next. You can learn more about my music at connorcherland.com, or find me on Instagram or Spotify under Connor Cherland, ConnerCherland. All right, see ya.